Welcome to TT-Buddhism, where we explore timeless wisdom from the teachings of the Buddha and discover how they can guide us through the joys and struggles of modern life. Have you ever wished that a happy moment could last forever? Or felt frustrated when something precious slipped away too soon? Whether it's a beautiful sunset, a meaningful relationship, or even a moment of peace, we often find ourselves wishing things would stay the same. Yet, the reality of life is quite different. Everything changes. In today's video, we will explore one of the most profound and liberating teachings in Buddhism, impermanence, or anicca in Pali. This simple yet powerful truth reminds us that nothing in this world is permanent. Everything, our emotions, our bodies, our successes, and even our struggles, is in a constant state of change. Understanding impermanence doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. On the contrary, it teaches us to appreciate the present moment more deeply, to let go of our fears, and to find peace, even amid life's uncertainties. So, if you've ever struggled with loss, change, or the fear of letting go, this video is for you. Together, we'll explore how embracing impermanence can lead to freedom from suffering, deeper gratitude, and a more meaningful life. Stay with us until the end, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's begin this journey of understanding and transformation together. What is impermanence? Understanding the ever-changing nature of life. So, what exactly is impermanence? In Buddhist teachings, impermanence, or anicca in Pali, is one of the three universal characteristics of existence. It means that everything we experience in life is constantly changing. Nothing remains the same forever. This truth is not just a concept to be discussed in philosophy or religion. It's something we can observe in every corner of our lives if we're paying attention. Look around you. A blooming flower begins to wither. A joyful conversation ends. Even our own bodies, which we often believe to be stable, are constantly transforming, aging, healing, growing, or weakening. Impermanence isn't just about physical objects or the natural world. It also applies to the internal world of our minds and emotions. Our feelings shift, our thoughts come and go, and even the people we hold close may change or drift away over time. The Buddha likened life to a flowing river, never still, never the same from one moment to the next. Just like you can't step into the same river twice, you can't hold on to any moment and expect it to stay unchanged. When we try to cling to experiences or resist the passage of time, we create unnecessary suffering for ourselves. But when we accept that change is the nature of all things, we can begin to live more freely and peacefully. Buddhism describes four natural stages that all conditioned things go through: birth, existence, decay, and cessation. These stages apply to everything, from relationships and careers to emotions, thoughts, and even identities we once believed were permanent. Understanding impermanence doesn't mean giving up or becoming detached from life. On the contrary, it helps us become more present and more grateful. It allows us to truly appreciate each moment, knowing it won't last forever. In this way, impermanence is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. In the next section, we'll explore why recognizing this truth is so essential and how it can help us let go of suffering and live with greater clarity, resilience, and joy. Why is impermanence so important? A path to peace and liberation. Now that we understand what impermanence is, the next question is, why is it so important in our lives? The answer lies in one simple but often overlooked truth. Most of our suffering comes from resisting change. We want things we love to last forever. We hope joyful moments will never end. We cling to relationships, achievements, possessions, even emotions and ideas as if they were permanent. But when life inevitably changes, we feel shaken, disappointed, or even heartbroken. This gap between our expectations and reality becomes the root of our suffering. The Buddha taught that clinging to impermanent things creates dukkha, or unsatisfactoriness. Imagine buying a new phone and feeling excited at first. Over time, that excitement fades. The phone gets scratched, outdated, or replaced. If we cling to the idea that this object will continue to bring happiness, we'll only end up frustrated. But if we understand that nothing can stay new or satisfying forever, we can let go more easily and suffer less. Recognizing impermanence frees us from this constant cycle of craving and disappointment. It helps us stop chasing after things that can never provide lasting peace. Instead, we begin to appreciate things for what they are while they last. This shift in perspective softens our attachment, allowing us to engage with life more openly and lovingly without the fear of losing. It's also important to understand that impermanence applies to our inner world. Our thoughts and feelings are always shifting. A feeling of sadness today may dissolve tomorrow. A moment of anxiety will eventually pass. When we understand this, we no longer need to panic or overreact. We can watch our inner experiences rise and fall, knowing they're part of the natural flow. Ultimately, embracing impermanence helps us live more peacefully, love more deeply, and let go more gracefully. It's not a cold truth, it's a compassionate one. Because when we stop trying to hold on to the unholdable, we create space for clarity, resilience, and inner freedom. In the next part, we'll explore how this wisdom can be directly applied to our everyday lives, in relationships, work, personal challenges, and even in how we experience happiness and pain. Applying impermanence to daily life, living with clarity and grace. Understanding impermanence isn't just a philosophical insight. It's a practical tool we can apply in our everyday lives. When we begin to see the truth of change clearly, it transforms how we approach relationships, challenges, emotions, and even success. Let's start with relationships. Often we suffer in love or friendship because we expect things to remain the same. We want people to always treat us a certain way or for feelings to never fade. But the reality is, people change, their priorities shift, their emotions evolve, and circumstances move them in new directions. Recognizing this doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we stop trying to control the uncontrollable. When we accept that every connection has its own rhythm, we start relating with more compassion, patience, and presence. In times of emotional pain, impermanence becomes a source of hope. A breakup, a loss, a moment of depression, these can feel overwhelming, as if they'll last forever. But when we remember that nothing is permanent, we find strength. We begin to say to ourselves, "This too shall pass," and it does. Every difficult moment eventually softens. In our careers and ambitions, impermanence teaches humility and flexibility. Success is never guaranteed, and failure is never final. Markets shift, opportunities fade, and even the strongest plans can fall apart. When we embrace impermanence, we become more adaptable. We learn to flow with life rather than fight against it. Even in moments of joy and happiness, impermanence adds depth. Knowing that a beautiful sunset will soon disappear doesn't ruin the moment. It makes us savor it more. Every smile, every laugh, every quiet cup of tea becomes more meaningful when we realize it won't last forever. And that's okay. In fact, It's what makes those moments so precious. Ultimately, applying the wisdom of impermanence to daily life allows us to live with greater clarity, resilience, and peace. We stop clinging to what's fading and start showing up for what's real, right here, right now. In the next section, we'll explore how meditation and mindfulness can help us experience impermanence directly and strengthen our understanding of this essential truth. Experiencing impermanence through meditation and mindfulness. While understanding impermanence through thought is valuable, it becomes truly transformative when we experience it directly. And that's where meditation and mindfulness come in. These practices help us move beyond theory and begin to see the truth of change unfolding moment by moment in our own lives. One of the simplest and most accessible ways to do this is through mindful breathing. By sitting quietly and observing your breath, how it comes in, lingers for a moment, and then leaves, you begin to notice that no breath is ever the same. Each one arises and passes away, just like every other experience in life. This gentle awareness can reveal something profound. If even the breath, something so vital and constant, is always changing, then so is everything else. As you continue practicing, you can expand your awareness to include all experiences, thoughts, emotions, sensations, and sounds. You might notice an itch that fades away, a moment of worry that softens, or a pleasant memory that arises and then disappears. These observations reinforce the truth that everything is in motion, everything is temporary. The more we see this, the more we understand that we don't need to cling, and we don't need to resist. We simply observe and allow. Another powerful practice is reflecting on the fragility of life. Though it may seem uncomfortable, contemplating the fact that life is temporary helps us live more fully. When we remember that our time and the time of those we love is limited, we begin to focus on what truly matters. We treat each moment as a gift. We stop taking people and experiences for granted. With regular meditation, our relationship to change becomes softer. We stop fearing it. We stop fighting it. Instead, we develop inner calm and clarity, even when life around us feels uncertain. In the next part, we'll explore timeless metaphors that the Buddha used to describe impermanence. Simple, beautiful images that continue to help people around the world understand and accept the nature of change. Timeless metaphors that help us embrace change. To help people truly understand impermanence, the Buddha often used simple but powerful metaphors, everyday images that speak to the heart more than the intellect. These timeless comparisons continue to inspire people across centuries, gently reminding us that change is not something to fear, but something to accept with grace. One of the most well-known metaphors is the flowing river. A river may look the same each time you see it, but if you look closely, you'll notice that the water is always moving. No moment in the river is ever repeated. Life is just like that. Each moment passes and gives way to the next. Trying to hold on to a moment is like trying to hold water in your hands. It slips through, no matter how tightly you grasp it. This image teaches us to flow with life rather than struggle against it. Another image is the flame. A flame depends on certain conditions to burn: fuel, oxygen, and space. If any of these change, the flame will flicker or go out. In the same way, everything in our lives, our thoughts, relationships, possessions, even our sense of self, depends on many factors to exist. When those conditions shift, so do the things we rely on. Understanding this can help us let go of control and appreciate things as they are. Then there are autumn leaves. turning beautiful shades of red and gold before gently falling to the ground. They don't resist the change. They simply let go. This reminds us that there is beauty in endings, and that letting go is not a failure, but a natural part of life's cycle. These metaphors are more than poetic images. They're teachings for the heart, gentle invitations to live with more ease, more acceptance, and more presence. When we see life through this lens, we no longer see change as a threat. Instead, we recognize it as the very rhythm of existence. In the next part, we'll explore how embracing impermanence not only frees us from fear and anxiety, but also opens the door to deeper peace, gratitude, and compassion in our lives. Finding peace, gratitude, and compassion through impermanence. When we truly embrace impermanence, something beautiful begins to happen. We start to live with greater peace, deeper gratitude, and a more open heart. First, impermanence brings inner peace. Much of our anxiety comes from trying to control life, holding on to what we love, avoiding what we fear, and wishing things would stay the same. But when we understand that change is natural and unavoidable, we stop struggling so much. We begin to accept life as it is, instead of how we think it should be. This acceptance doesn't make us passive, it makes us calm, resilient, and wise. We stop fighting the waves and start learning how to float. Next, impermanence deepens our sense of gratitude. When we know that nothing lasts forever, every moment becomes more precious. A quiet morning, a warm smile, the presence of a loved one, these are no longer taken for granted. We don't wait for a crisis to appreciate what we have. Instead, we begin to savor the ordinary, knowing it won't always be there. Even challenges become meaningful when we understand that they too will pass. Finally, impermanence opens the door to compassion. When we realize that everyone around us is also experiencing change, loss, and uncertainty, we become more understanding. We stop judging so quickly and start connecting more deeply. We become gentler with ourselves and others. We forgive more easily, we listen more patiently, and we offer support without expecting anything in return, because we know how fragile life really is. Impermanence is not a reason to fear life. It's an invitation to live more fully and love more deeply. It teaches us to be present, to let go when it's time, and to hold on gently while we can. In the final part of this video, we'll reflect on the ultimate message of impermanence, how it leads us not to despair, but to liberation, wisdom, and a more awakened way of living. The final message: letting go, living fully, and finding freedom. As we come to the end of this reflection on impermanence, we arrive at its deepest message: freedom. Impermanence is not meant to make us feel hopeless. It's meant to awaken us. It shows us that clinging leads to suffering, while letting go brings peace. When we stop trying to freeze time, control outcomes, or hold on to things that are constantly changing, we begin to breathe more freely. We stop fighting life and start flowing with it. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring. In fact, it allows us to care even more, with presence, with sincerity, and without fear. When we understand that every person we love, every experience we cherish, and every moment we live is temporary, we begin to show up more fully. We speak more kindly, we forgive more easily, and we live with deeper intention. This is the quiet power of impermanence. It teaches us how to live. It reminds us that we don't have to wait for the perfect moment, because no moment will last forever. We can choose to be present now, to love now, to heal now, to grow now. The more we embrace the fleeting nature of life, the more we realize that this very moment, right here, right now, is enough. This is also the beginning of real wisdom. When we accept that nothing is fixed, we stop identifying ourselves with our pain, our past, or even our successes. We become more flexible, more open, more compassionate, not only toward others, but also toward ourselves. In the end, impermanence is not the enemy. It is the teacher. It teaches us how to live lightly, love deeply, and let go gracefully. And in doing so, it gently leads us to peace. Not the peace of perfection, but the peace of understanding, of acceptance, and of inner freedom. Thank you for joining us on this journey. In the closing message, we'll offer a word of gratitude and an invitation to continue walking this path with us.